Hello, here are just a few workouts involving the unit circle from our MAT 172 course. At the beginning of our work with the unit circle, we are asked to find exact trig values. And what we need to do is we just have to know what our unit circle is backwards and forward. You can see that I've got a basic circle here with just the points at my axes. So let's see how I can use this in order to answer these first two questions. The first one says, find the exact value of sine of negative pi over 2. One of the things that you want to remember is here we have 0 pi, 2 pi, etc. Here we have pi over 2. Here we have pi. And here we have 3 pi over 2. Remember that at each of these points we have an ordered pair that represents cosine and sine. At this point we have 1, 0 for our coordinates. Here we have 0, 1. Here we have negative 1, 0. And down here at 3 pi over 2 we have 0, negative 1. Think about what sine of negative pi over 2 is asking. You know, generally, we rotate in this direction. But that's not what we're being asked here. What we're being asked is to rotate in the negative direction, so we would be rotating this way. Negative pi over 2 is going to be coterminal with 3 pi over 2. Therefore, we look at the second coordinate, which is negative 1, and we can say definitively that the sine of negative pi over 2 is negative 1. Let's look at the cosine of 6 pi. That one will be similar. When we think about 6 pi, that means that we're going to go and rotate in the positive direction. That would be 2 pi, 4 pi, and then 6 pi. So 6 pi lands here. The cosine of 6 pi would be the first coordinate, or 1. Okay, let's take a look at two other examples. In C, we're asked to find the tangent of 11 pi over 6. What I want you to think about first on this one is, you already know from our previous work that pi over 6 is in our first quadrant. We've got 0 or 2 pi here, and then 11 pi over 6 is down here in the fourth quadrant. Hopefully you've built some relationships that allows you to know that quickly. One of the things that you're thinking about are what are the ordered pairs at 11 pi over 6. At 11 pi over 6 you have the square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1/2. Remember that we've learned already that each of our ordered pairs on the unit circle is set up as cosine sine. So if I just wanted to find the cosine of 11 pi over 6, I could certainly say, well, that's square root 3 over 2, or the sine is negative 1/2. But I'm looking for the tangent, and the tangent is the ratio of sine over cosine. So in order for us to get this answer, we would say the tangent of 11 pi over 6 is equal to our sine, which is negative 1/2, over our cosine, which is the square root of 3 over 2, and then we'd go one step further and simplify that. And if we simplify this, do all of you see that I could just write negative 1 over the square root of 3? I don't need to rationalize that, and I'm not going to in this video. Let's take a look now at the second one, D, where we're looking at the secant of negative 2 pi over 3. So one of the things that I would want you to do is take a look at your unit circle. Again, negative 2 pi over 3 means that we're going to have this negative rotation. So negative 2 pi over 3, if I went all the way up back up to my x-axis, that would be negative pi, which would be negative 3 pi over 3. So I know that it's going to happen somewhere in here, right? As I rotate negative 2 pi over 3, negative 2 pi over 3 is in fact going to be coterminal with 4 pi over 3. Some of you may have already learned, again, another connection. If you take 2 pi and subtract 2 pi over 3, you end up at 4 pi. Remember, 2 pi is really 6 pi over 3. So 6 pi over 3 minus 2 pi over 3 would be 4 pi over 3. At 4 pi over 3, we have these as our ordered pairs. Negative 1/2, negative square root 3 over 2. When we're looking to find the secant, remember, is the relationship between itself and the cosine. It's a reciprocal relationship with cosine. So in order for us to work on this one, we would want to identify the cosine. The cosine is negative 1/2. So we would start this by saying the secant of negative 2 pi over 3 is equal to 1 over negative 1/2, which simplifies to negative 2. I hope this quick video will help you in some of your discoveries in the unit circle. Remember, you can always reach out to me via email. We can set up an Adobe Connect meeting. Thank you.